Have you noticed? Just before life blesses you, it feels like it's breaking you. That heaviness, that tension in your chest, it isn't here to punish you. It's here to prepare you for who you're about to become. Somewhere deep within, you felt it. That strange, undeniable pressure. The quiet chaos that swirls just before everything changes. It feels like life is pressing hard against you. Not to harm you, but to shape you. What if I told you, the moments when it all seems to fall apart are actually the clearest signs your breakthrough is closer than ever? Not because you failed, not because you're broken, but because you've outgrown an energetic pattern. And now the universe is collapsing the old to make room for who you truly are becoming. But here's the thing, that rearrangement doesn't look graceful. It comes disguised as chaos. And this is where most people get lost. They mistake the collapse for failure, never realizing that in the language of the quantum field, collapse is what bursts creation. Think of the double slit experiment in quantum physics. Particles behave like infinite waves, pure potential, until you focus your intention. It's the act of choosing, of observing, that collapses those waves into one reality. What no one tells you is, before the collapse, there's disarray, an infinite field of possibilities, all vibrating, all available, waiting for you to align. And when you stand on the edge of your breakthrough, your world begins to tremble. Not because you're falling behind, but because the old frequency no longer fits who you are becoming. You're not failing, you're retuning. But the shift is not gentle. It feels like emotional whiplash. Plans unravel, people walk away, opportunities stall, clarity dissolves into confusion, calm becomes doubt. And this is where your deeper initiation begins. Because the field is not asking you to do more. It's asking you to let go, to release what you thought was secure so you can step into what is truly aligned. That tension you're feeling, it's the friction between the self you've known and the quantum self that's waiting to emerge. Let's go even deeper. In systems theory, there's a concept called the bifurcation point. It's the moment when a system, under so much pressure, can no longer sustain its old form and is forced to evolve into something more coherent, more complete. But here's the paradox. Before it evolves, it must first pass through chaos. What feels like destruction is actually divine reorganization. What you feel as resistance isn't resistance at all. It's realignment. This very dynamic is unfolding inside you now. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, they weave together into a living, breathing system of who you've been. But when that system can no longer sustain the energy you're stepping into, it begins to unravel. Not because you are broken, but because you become too powerful for the old reality you once called home. And in those moments when everything seems to spin out of control, you are given a choice to contract back into the comfort of what's familiar, or to breathe through the fire and let the field rewire you into who you're meant to be. Here's the wild and beautiful truth. Your body already knows how to hold chaos. When your heart enters a state of coherence, it whispers to your brain, bringing clarity where there was once confusion. When your breath slows and deepens, it soothes your nervous system and widens your awareness. When your intention sharpens, it imprints your field, shaping the probabilities around you. So the real question is this: can you stay present inside the shakeup? Can you stop trying to repair what's dissolving and trust instead in what's forming? There is a reason this energy feels so intense right now. On a collective level, countless souls are passing through what mystics and scientists alike have called the disintegration of identity. It's the collapse of the parts of you that were stitched together by fear, by control, by separation. And though it may feel like an ending, it is, in truth, a threshold. You are not losing your way. You are being led, redirected, to the version of you who already vibrates at the frequency of your next chapter. And if you've made it this far, know this: something inside you has already shifted. You wouldn't still be here otherwise. This message finds you now because you are standing at the edge. And the next version of you is already waiting, shimmering in the field, calling you forward. In the next part of this journey, we'll go even deeper. You'll uncover the hidden mechanics behind the sacred cycle of collapse and creation. You'll begin to see how chaos in your emotional field is simply coherence, trying to emerge. And most importantly, you'll learn how to recognize the unmistakable signs that your breakthrough is not just near, it's already unfolding. So, stay with me. The truth runs deeper than you think. And what waits on the other side of this storm will make every moment of struggle worth it. Have you ever noticed? The moment just before life finally shifts is always the moment you feel most tempted to give up. There's a reason for that, and it's not just psychological, it's energetic. Before any quantum system reorganizes itself into a higher state of coherence, it first passes through a threshold of chaos, a field of uncertainty. This is not just a metaphor, it's a law of reality, seen in biology, in oceans and galaxies, and yes, within your own consciousness. Because everything in your life is frequency. Your relationships, your health, your abundance, your emotions, all of it is just the echo of the energy you've been broadcasting. But when you begin to shift that inner signal, when you meditate, calm your nervous system, declare new intentions, and anchor new patterns, the field around you starts to respond. And here's where it gets interesting. The life you've been living, even if it hurts, is held together by silent agreements, thoughts, beliefs, habits. Together they create a kind of gravitational pull that keeps your reality stable. So when you start to rise, those old patterns begin to crack. At first it feels like nothing is happening. Then friction builds. You feel exhausted. Unexpected setbacks appear. People you thought were aligned suddenly drift away. This is the moment where most give up. They mistake the resistance for a warning. But the truth is, that unease you feel is not sabotage, it's synchronization. The parts of your life that no longer match your rising coherence are being shaken loose. This discomfort is not here to destroy you. It's here to dissolve what no longer belongs. From the quantum perspective, this is the moment right before reconfiguration, when the wave of possibility collapses, not into failure, but into form. And here's the most critical piece. What the field collapses into depends entirely on the emotional state you hold during this instability. If you shrink into fear, you signal the field to restore what's familiar, even if what's familiar is pain. But if you stay present, if you breathe through the discomfort, you stabilize the new frequency long enough to let it solidify. It's a bit like surfing. The wave builds, it rises, it churns, and in that moment you can panic and fall, or you can trust the momentum and ride it all the way to shore. So how do you know if you're in the middle of a vibrational shift? You'll feel sudden emotional surges, grief, anger, fear, seemingly without cause. That's stored energy finally leaving your field. You'll see old patterns resurface, triggers you thought you healed, not to punish you, but for one last release. You'll feel disoriented, questioning everything, your purpose, your relationships, even your spiritual practices. But this is not confusion. It's the quiet dissolution of an old identity so that a truer one can emerge. And then time begins to distort. Days feel surreal, stretched thin and weightless. That's because your brain is finally leaving survival mode, recalibrating for something higher. And then, after the storm, there are moments of stillness so deep they almost feel out of place. Tiny islands of peace, even as the world around you still trembles. This is coherence, quietly beginning to emerge. You are not lost. You are simply leaving the frequency where your old life made sense. This process is sacred, but it is meant to be uncomfortable, because without discomfort, you wouldn't detach. And without detachment, there would be no space for the new to arrive. For centuries, as spiritual teachers called this the dark night of the soul. From a modern quantum lens, you might call it the vibrational death of the outdated self. And like all deaths, it deserves to be honored, not rushed, not denied, not escaped. Because what comes next is a level of alignment, creativity, and clarity you've never touched before. But to reach it, you must remain present through the noise. You must remember the breakdown is not personal, it's mechanical, it's vibrational, it's preparation. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore how to move with this discomfort rather than against it. How to stay energetically aligned through the shift instead of collapsing beneath it. Because the energy you hold in your darkest moments becomes the signature that writes your next reality. And your new timeline is closer than you think. Sometimes before your life expands, it contracts. Not because you're moving backwards, but because something deep within your field is making room for what's coming. Most people miss this. They feel the contraction and assume it's failure. But in truth, it's a sign that your current frequency can no longer contain the power you've begun to radiate. Look closer, and you'll see your external life always reflects your energetic set point. And as you elevate that frequency through healing, intention, presence, the field has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. But know this, rearrangement doesn't always look like flow. Often, it looks like friction, because friction is the sound of your reality recalibrating. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who dreamed of changing his life. For over a year, he visualized his new career. He practiced gratitude. He meditated. He declared his intentions daily. And for a while, nothing seemed to happen. Until one day, everything started to fall apart. His projects unraveled. His plans collapsed. His confidence collapsed. He began questioning everything. The process, the practice, even himself. What he couldn't yet see was that the breakdown wasn't a block. It was a clearing, because just days later, a door opened. One he never imagined before. It didn't fit the man he used to be, but it fit perfectly with the man he was becoming. The collapse was never punishment. It was the prelude to his breakthrough. Here's what the field understands better than your conscious mind. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you're coherent with. And coherence means your thoughts, emotions, body, and energy all sing the same frequency. So when you shift your frequency, when you begin to feel, think, and act as if your new reality is already here, the old structures aligned with your previous state dissolve. This is the paradox of quantum manifestation. The breakdown is the proof. It means the field has heard your signal, and the universe is already rearranging in real time. But if you mistake the dismantling for failure, you'll cling back to the very frequency you were trying to leave. You'll recall the reality you've already outgrown. That's why awareness is everything. Here are 3 deeper signs your field is already reorganizing, even if it doesn't yet look like progress. 1. Synchronicities appear, but outcomes delay. You start seeing repeating numbers, symbols, subtle messages that guide you, even though the big result hasn't arrived. That's not stagnation. It's the field sinking to your new resonance. 2. Old energies exit rapidly. People leave. Habits break. Plans dissolve. It may feel like loss, but it's really the clearing of misaligned frequencies, making space for what's true. 3. You feel neutral, not excited. Excitement is a spark, but neutrality is power. When calm presence rises, even in uncertainty, that's your nervous system integrating a higher frequency. That's when you stop chasing and start broadcasting. So what should you do when the shift begins? Do less, feel more, breathe deeper. Because the field doesn't need your effort, it needs your alignment. The moment you release your grip and begin to listen, you step into quantum trust. And trust is the fastest frequency of manifestation. This isn't passivity, this is precision. From a physics perspective, everything in the universe self-organizes according to frequency. Coherence attracts coherence. Your job is not to force the outcome. Your job is to become the field that already contains it. In the next part of this journey, you'll discover how to stay grounded through chaos. You'll learn what to do when fear arises and how to shift from reaction to resonance. You'll also receive one of the most powerful energetic tools to navigate the most fragile phase of the breakthrough process. Because the more you understand what's really happening behind the scenes, the easier it becomes to trust the unseen forces already working in your favor. Let's talk about the part no one prepares you for, the middle of the shift, that strange, fragile space between "I'm ready for change" and "it finally happened." Where your old life no longer fits you, but your new life hasn't fully formed yet. It's disorienting, it's emotional, and it's exactly where most people abandon their process, because they don't realize the space between the old and the new is not empty. It's alive, it's charged. It's where the quantum field does its most sacred work, reorganizing timelines, rerouting potentials, dissolving resistance. But only if you can remain coherent through the discomfort. So how do you do that? You don't force your way through, you align your way through. And one of the simplest ways to realign, right in the middle of chaos, is this: a 3-step energetic reset known as the trust shift. Step 1, breathe into the field. Close your eyes, bring your awareness to the center of your chest. Take a long, slow inhale through your nose. And as you exhale, feel your body soften. Let your breath become smooth, circular. No gaps, no strain, just rhythm. This activates your parasympathetic system and brings your body into heart-brain coherence. Step 2, say the signal. Silently repeat to yourself, "I trust the flow," not because everything is figured out, but because control was never your job. Alignment is. And each time you say it, feel your energy drop from your mind into your heart. Feel your field stabilize. Feel your nervous system recalibrate. Step 3, allow what's unfolding. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" ask, "What is this making space for?" That single shift turns emotional reactivity into energetic intelligence. You stop collapsing timelines in fear and start broadcasting a field of presence, and presence is the most magnetic state you can occupy. Now, let me speak to the part of you that still doubts, the part that whispers, "This is just wishful thinking," that nothing is really changing. That voice is not the truth. It is only the echo of your old frequency trying to stay relevant. It is not your enemy, but it cannot lead you anymore. What must lead now is your embodied awareness, the quiet knowing inside you that says, "I don't need evidence before I align. I don't need the result before I become the resonance." That is the shift. That is what the universe responds to. You are not here to beg the field. You are here to partner with it, to become the kind of presence that allows the invisible to crystallize into the visible. And if you're still here, still watching, I know you feel it. The subtle tremble of something new already forming in the unseen. You may not yet have words for it, but your energy already knows. So let's anchor this moment, not with a belief, but with a broadcast. Go to the comments now and write, "I trust the flow," because the moment you broadcast it, the field begins to answer. Those 4 words you just anchored, "I trust the flow," are not just a statement. They're a vibrational code. Each time you speak them, you signal to the field, "I am open, I am here, I am attuning, not rushing." Say it once. Say it daily. Say it especially when everything inside you wants to grasp, to control. Because the moment you surrender the timeline, the field begins to reveal the path. In the next part of this journey, you'll uncover what truly blocks this flow. The unconscious habits, the invisible energetic contracts that keep you looping in the same reality. And more importantly, you'll learn how to release them without forcing, fixing, or fighting anything. Because you were never meant to push reality into place. You were meant to invite it into resonance. Let's be honest, you've done the work. You've journaled, meditated, held the vision. You've even surrendered, or at least you think you have. So why does it still feel like you're trapped in a loop? Why do breakthroughs seem so close, only to slip through your fingers? Because even the most awakened among us, especially the awakened, fall into subtle energetic traps that keep them tied to the very timelines they're trying to transcend. Not out of weakness, but out of old conditioning. So now let's expose those traps, not to shame you, but to liberate your signal. Because the field isn't responding to your words, it's responding to your coherence. Every time you unknowingly reattach to an outdated frequency, you broadcast confusion into the quantum field. So here are the 5 most common energetic errors that quietly block your flow in the middle of your transition. Error 1, performing instead of embodying. You say the affirmations, you light the candles, you follow the rituals, but deep inside, you're performing alignment instead of becoming it. Performance is manipulation. It says to the field, look, I'm doing the thing, now give me what I want. But the field doesn't respond to compliance, it responds to truth. Embodiment is subtle. It's when your actions and your energy tell the same story, even when no one is watching. Error 2, waiting for evidence before you relax. You tell yourself, once I see the shift, then I'll believe it's working. But that's not how quantum reality works. The moment you demand proof before peace, you anchor your field in doubt. And the field, being perfectly neutral, reflects that doubt back as delay. Reality doesn't confirm you. You confirm reality. Error 3, overthinking the path. You keep asking, but how? But when? But through who? And in doing so, you collapse your infinite possibilities into the narrow corridor of your logic. In quantum mechanics, particles don't move in straight lines. They collapse into form based on coherence, not control. The more you obsess over the how, the more you become the bottleneck. The field doesn't need your map, it needs your signal. Error 4, negotiating with the old identity. You say you're ready to change, but part of you is still bargaining with your past, still gripping the version of you that only knew how to survive pain. But pain-based identity emits distortion. It keeps attracting struggle, not because you want it, but because you're still entangled with it. You cannot collapse into your breakthrough while clinging to the blueprint of your suffering. Your new timeline requires new agreements. Error 5, mistaking discomfort for misalignment. As soon as things feel hard, you assume it's a sign to stop. But discomfort isn't always a red flag. Sometimes it's the signal of expansion. Growth is a nervous system event. When your body touches frequencies it's never held before, it panics. Not because you're off track, but because you're leaving the familiar. Discomfort doesn't always mean turn back. Sometimes it means breathe and keep going. Now, here's the secret. Every one of these so-called errors is not a flaw. They are invitations, subtle whispers to refine your signal, to become more precise with your energy, to let the field reintroduce you to your own quiet, unshakable power. So how do you shift? Not through pressure, not through judgment, through presence. Because in the quantum field, the very moment you see the pattern without fusing to it, you begin to unhook your vibration from that old loop. Try this. The next time you feel stuck, ask yourself softly, what energy am I actually radiating right now? Not what you're saying, not what you're wishing, but what you're truly broadcasting. Then pause, drop into your body, find the quiet gap between thought and truth. That gap is the entry point to your next reality. And from there, just one conscious breath, one aligned thought, can tilt your entire field toward coherence. In the final part of this journey, we'll bring everything together. You'll receive a guided integration to help you hold your new signal through chaos. And I'll share with you the single most important mindset to embody during this sacred transition. The one that transforms temporary discomfort into permanent transformation. So now you see, the collapse isn't a curse, it's a clearing. The struggle isn't a signal to stop. It's proof you're standing at the very edge of your quantum shift. But remember, knowledge alone does not create the shift. What changes everything is how you move through it. So now, let's bring this full circle with a simple practice to stabilize your nervous system, align your energy, and reinforce the signal of surrender without ever losing your power. This is called the Quantum Calm Protocol, and it takes just 90 seconds. You can use it every morning, in the middle of a breakdown, or whenever you feel your frequency slipping into confusion or fear. Let's begin. Step 1, the centering breath. Sit or stand. Close your eyes. Take a long, slow inhale through your nose to a count of 4. Hold for 2. Then exhale gently through your mouth to a count of 6. Do this twice more. And with each exhale, imagine releasing all false urgency from your body. Feel yourself return to the only place that's real, the present moment. Not as an idea, but as a frequency. Step 2, the field declaration. Place one hand gently over your chest and say to yourself, softly or out loud, "Even this is part of my alignment." Let those words echo through your field. Let them dissolve resistance. You are not off track. You are mid-transformation. Step 3. Visualize the collapse as rearrangement. In your mind's eye, see your current chaos, the people, the decisions, the emotions, as particles scattered, swirling, disordered. Now, breathe, and with each breath, feel those particles begin to reorganize, not according to your fear, but according to your frequency. They're not falling apart, they're falling into place. Let that image imprint itself in your awareness. Let it become the metaphor you return to every time doubt tries to creep in. Because the field is never punishing you, it's always responding to you. And when you broadcast calm, you become the coherence that calls order out of the chaos. So breathe and trust, and remember, you're not here to control reality. You're here to resonate with it. And that resonance is what writes the next chapter of your life. Because the truth is, you're not being tested, you're being calibrated. This phase of your life isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering you are a signal, not a statistic, a broadcaster, not a beggar, a creator, not a controller. And when you finally stop trying to outthink the field and instead become coherent within it, everything changes. So here is the final invitation. Not a demand, not a pitch, but a door. If this message found you at just the right time, if something deep inside you clicked into place, if even one word shifted your breath, your energy, your perspective, then know this. This space, this frequency, this quiet corner of the field is for you. Subscribing here isn't just about more content. It's about joining a quiet movement of conscious creators, signal holders, frequency stabilizers. People who don't just talk about the shift, but live it. So if you feel ready to align your mornings, your manifestations, your nervous system, not with hustle, but with harmony, then subscribe. Not because you need to become someone new, but because you're finally ready to remember who you've always been. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Thank you for trusting the process, for trusting the pause, for trusting even the paradox. And always remember, when it feels like everything is falling apart, it may be because your soul has just made room for the reality you've been waiting for. Breathe into that, trust it, and let it come.